Hello, everyone. My name is Belinda Dye. I am the host and founder of A Rose and Bloom, a platform and a community focused on amplifying women's voices and encouraging them to share their real, authentic, God-given stories. Welcome back to another episode of Season 3, where we are exploring the woman creative and seeing how God has given them the ability to create just like Him. Today, we have Miata here. I'm so excited to get into who she is, her journey, and for y'all to get to know her a little bit. So let's get into it. Hello, Miss Miata.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, girl. I've been praying this for a while. I was like, man, I hope she's able to come on because you are an amazing woman, a powerhouse. And I'm so excited for this conversation and people to get to know who you are and what God is doing in your life, just because I think it's so unique. Like, I was like, yeah, Miata, that girl. She's that girl.
I love that.
So I'm familiar with you, obviously, but our audience might not be.
Okay.
So, who are you?
Wow. That is, yeah. Okay. As an introvert, that's like the worst questions you could ask.
Dang,
you know what I mean? You're like, my name is Miata. But no, seriously, my name is Miata Jones. I currently work at Grace Covenant Church as a pastor and creative director. I'm a Liberian girl.
Okay, West Africa to the world.
Okay, to the world. Shout out Michael Jackson for our song. I am an HBCU grad. I went to Spelman, the Spelman College. Okay, number one, never the two. But those are just the highlights. I'm middle child out of 3 girls. Let me put some respect on my family's name. I'm the middle child out of 3 girls. Yeah. So
I did not know that. You don't give middle child energy.
That's what everybody tells me.
Yeah.
What kind of energy do I give? Like, I don't know.
Like youngest.
Really?
Honestly, to me.
Whoa.
But just because you're so like fun and playful.
Okay.
It's like.
Meet my younger sister and you'll know.
Yeah.
I am definitely not the baby. But yeah.
That's interesting. I did not know that. And 3 girls.
3 girls.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I have 2 younger brothers.
Crazy.
It's a lot. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing a little bit of who you are, and we'll get into a little bit of that. I think my first question is, how did you become, I guess, a creative director? Or actually, let's start from the beginning. Have you always seen yourself as a creative?
Yes.
Okay. How did that start? What led up to that? Because I've actually never heard of a creative director or a creative pastor ever until I came to Grace, and I was like, okay. All right.
That's new.
So that journey.
That journey, and have I always seen myself as creative? I would say when I was in, this is so crazy. When I was in like middle school and high school, I was in the literary magazine.
Okay.
Like coffee shop. Just very emo. I was a very emo teen, which is so funny to me now that I think about like all the stuff I used to be singing, and like I really thought I was a skateboarder. Anyways, so in high school, I was on a literary magazine, and my dream was to be like a magazine editor. Like I loved magazines. I loved like just the whole process of scrapbooking. So I had a whole bunch of scrapbooks as growing up, taking images and putting them together and making art out of it. Almost to the point where my major was going to be art.
Oh, wow.
In school.
Okay.
My family was like, what is that? No, you're not. You can't make money and you can't get a job. So then I was international relations, which was still cool. But I think Spelman is a very creative place in general, I feel like. Creative with education, arts, all that different stuff. So I was involved in a lot of things, but I feel like I've always been into arts and creativity, like painting, drawing, dancing, stuff like that. So
dancing. You a dancer? Oh, you be dancing?
No, not anymore.
I did. No, actually, that's not true. Because this summer,
on my TikToks.
The TikTok. And I was like, oh, if Miata can do it, I can do it too. And I learned it.
I love TikTok dances. Okay. But no, yeah, dancing.
Okay. Did you dance as a kid? Like, were you in like a professional-esque dance, or were you just in your room? Like, you was just...
I was in a dance team.
Oh.
Yeah. You're like, any more? Do you want to talk about this more? No. I was in a dance team. I was in a hip hop dance team.
Okay.
At church.
What?
Our church had
Grace?
a hip hop dance team. Grace. Covenant Church.
Dance team?
And a mime team.
Oh, wow.
We never had the flags and batons because Pastor Jim got hit in the head with a baton one at some church, and so he was like, we're not doing that. But we had a hip-hop team, we had a mime team, like modern dancing. So
wow.
I know, it's crazy.
We need to bring that back. I think I'd like to see the mime. But no.
Actually, we do. The women's Christmas last year, they did a dance.
Madeline, yeah,
she did a dance. I love that. It was great. And it was great.
Dang.
So,
but
dancing.
No dancing ministry any longer.
No dancing ministry.
I don't think we'd have time for it, actually. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Grace. Cool. Thank you. We got so off topic. Thank you for that journey. Okay, so you've always seen yourself as a creative.
Yeah.
How did you become a creative director for a church?
Yeah.
Or pastor? Because I think, honestly, when I came to Grace, I think your title was like creative pastor, and I was like, what? And I think now it's like associate pastor, creative director, And I was like, I know titles change, but like...
Yeah. So my journey at Grace is low-key wild. Like, I grew up at Grace. So I've been going to Grace since I was like 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not even that old.
You're not.
I'm not even that old. But I've been going to Grace since I was 9 years old. I came on staff 2014. Yeah, because this year was 10 years being on staff, which is...
How did you get on staff? Sorry, let's start there.
Okay, that was a journey. I never saw myself working for a church.
Okay.
Ever. So when I graduated college, I moved back home. Because with a international relations degree, there's really only 2 tracks, right? You can keep going to school or you can go to foreign service and work your way up. And so I was like thinking about, okay, I'm going to probably go to foreign service, except I'm Black and a woman. And foreign service and being Black and a woman don't mix well together. There just was a lot of reports about just dangerous stuff happening.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I need to move home and get a job. So I got a job in DC, and I was just working and serving at church. And I was like, I'm going to always serve the church. I grew up this way.
Yeah.
I love God. I love the church. I'm going to always serve. But I never saw myself as working for a church. I'm like, I need to make money so I can give. And then,
and that's it.
That's it. But the more that I started to plant myself in church and serving, like, this love grew for that and the love for what I wanted to do, which I thought I was going to be like working at the World Bank, doing that life, dried up. Like, it it just was like almost, it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I would probably say like over 7 years, like that love just went from, oh, wow, I'm not very passionate. I'm still passionate about cultures and peoples and stuff like that, but that career track, not so much. And then I met Pastor Jim at a conference. And first I was talking to his wife, and then in his way, which I wish more people would get to know him more. I know he's retired now.
I know, it's so sad.
It's so sad, but he is, he's prophetic. So he came up to me. I was talking to her, and we were talking about something random. And he just goes, hey, what are you doing with your life? And I was like,
huh?
Actually, I don't know. I'm like,
how old are you?
Really? I think I was like 24 or something like that.
It's a spiral.
Listen.
What am I doing with my life? I don't know.
I don't know. I legitimately was like, I don't really know right now. This is what my dreams were before, and I feel like it's shifting. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. And then the next conversation, it kept going on, like, what do you do? What was your degree? And blah, blah, blah. Then I was thinking about joining the church plant in LA. So then I had to meet with Pastor Jim again. And he was like, okay, do you really believe that this is God moving you there? And I was like, I don't know, but I do know that I need to make a step. Like, I feel like I'm at a fork in the road.
Yeah.
And this direction or back there, I can't go back there anymore. That path is not for me anymore. And so I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go. Do something else, like go back to school, or am I going to LA with this church plant?
Yeah.
And we prayed and fasted, and I promise you, I applied for like 20 jobs. Really? They didn't even respond to say, like, thank you for applying. Dang. So then when I met with Pastor Jim again, I told him that, and he was like, if God's not saying anything new, he's not saying anything new. And I was like, what? He was like, did I hurt your feelings? I said, not really, because I was praying and fasting and I didn't hear anything. And he was like, if God's not saying anything, you need to stay put until he does say something. So if he's not saying anything new, he's not saying anything new. And so I was like, okay, bet, I need to stay put in this job. And then I think a couple weeks later, he offered me a job to be his executive assistant. Whoa. Which is wild. I'm like,
wait, for here or
for
LA?
here? Okay. Yeah, not for LA. For here, for him. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I would mess up his life. Being someone's executive assistant, like, you have to like book things. You gotta like talk. I just was like, no, I'm not doing that. He flies to like 30 countries a year. True. That wasn't for me. But I understood why he was like, this would actually work because you love cultures. That this would work. And I was like, no. And so he offered me the job of office manager, which was crazy. Okay. So I've literally probably almost worked every single job at Grace other than a facility. I was the office manager. I was a youth worship leader. Wow. Campus worship leader. Then I moved to Sterling, and I was Sterling's worship director. And then 2020, I came to Chantilly as the creative director.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I should know more about my life.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. But I think
what a journey.
What a journey.
Dang, there's a lot to say there.
There's a lot to say there.
I think my first thought goes back to you saying, if God's not saying anything new, then he's not saying anything new. I think, honestly, that would have blew me. I would have been like, that's not an answer I needed. So how did you deal with that? Because honestly, at the end of the day, not everybody, people will get to that fork in the road, and not everybody has a prophetic voice in their life.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you even... How do you even make the decision? How do you...
I feel like even if I didn't have that meeting with Pastor Jim, because I was trying to be in a church plant, so they were trying to vet everybody who is going to be a part of the church plant, because it's no joke to plant a church. And then it's no joke to uproot your life, go across the country where I had no family, a place like LA had no family. So the church, all these strangers would have to be my family. Yeah. That's a whole other thing. But I just know that my small group, the women around me, we were all praying just for very clear...
Come on, community.
Yeah, community. Very clear answers from God. And... there's the whole thing of Gideon, put the fleece out. Okay. Really testing God. Is it? And I think God is okay with some of that, especially when it happens to do with your future. But I was like, okay, if I apply to these jobs, Lord, and one of them responds, I'm going, I'm here. That's you saying yes. And not one response. Okay. Now, at the time, I was fasting and praying, because that's what Pastor Jim told me. But also, my community was like, if you're going to make a big life altering decision, you need to sit on it and wait for God to respond, and also pray and fast and seek him. So I think even if I didn't have a prophetic voice in my life, I think having community, because sometimes we can talk ourselves into, and then stamp God's name on it and say, oh yeah, God said that. No, he didn't actually. You said that. And because you don't want people to check you, you added God's name to it.
Come on.
So, hello? So he wasn't saying, I was praying and fasting for real. When I'm telling you, I was not eating meals, and I love to eat. I was not eating meals because I was like, God, I'm about to make the biggest decision of my life. Leave my family, okay? On that Ruth life. Okay. I was about to leave my family, and follow God into the unknown. And he didn't say not one cricket. Not like I would open the Bible and like you be like, yes, God's speaking to me. No, I'd be like, okay, well, he's not saying anything. So when Pastor Jim was like, if he isn't saying anything new, it wasn't like it hit me. I knew in my soul, in my heart, I knew I had not heard anything. God has not opened the door. So I'm not upset.
Yeah.
Because I already knew. Now I could, he was like, are you upset? And I was like, I could be upset. But at the same time, I'm seeing this as God's answer. Still, the no was an answer.
Yeah. God answers every prayer.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's that.
So he said a lot there. I don't even know where to go. Wow. Glory be to God. Thank you for your obedience. Obviously, because like you stayed. Thank you, Jesus. And like now we all have the opportunity to get to know you in this space. And it's like, dang, like what would grace look like if Miata actually went to LA? I mean, I'm sure they'd be fine off, but like, it's like it would not look the same, right? So how did you get into, because you did all the things. So you're at Sterling as their worship director, and then you came to Grace in 2020 as the creative director. So what was that process like? And how did they know that they needed a creative director?
They didn't know.
Okay.
This is kind of a fun story. So when I moved over to Sterling, I was the youth and campus worship director. Moved to Sterling, and while I was at Sterling, like the pastors they used to be my small group leaders who were the campus pastors. So David and Megan Hermes were my small group pastors when I came back from school, and then they became campus pastors.
Come on.
So they knew that I like loved media, arts, all that different stuff. And so they had me doing like their social media and like working on their Christmas graphics and thinking through like creative ways to do Easter, like openers and all those different things. And so I was just it was a practice ground that I didn't even know. God was just a practice ground for me. And then 2020 hit and nobody knew what to do. Yeah. And if you knew Grace before 2020, we were not on the internet. It was very, very different. We didn't have a YouTube page.
Really?
Yes. We were on Vimeo.
Wow.
Girl. And we did have a YouTube page, but it had the picture of the side of our building that didn't say anything. It was like,
oh my days.
Okay. We didn't have an Instagram. We had a Facebook for sure. But like,
that I know and love now.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, we didn't have any of that stuff because none of them believed in it. Have you met Pastor Brett? He's 60.
Yeah.
Okay. So love him, but he doesn't care about it. Like it doesn't mean that much to him. He really is like person to person on the ground in service, which is what I love and think is beautiful about him.
Yeah.
And so 2020 hit and Pastor Brett was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I have 20 ideas. Okay, this is my list.
Come on.
And this is the first time ever. People have told me he has ever said this. Do whatever you want.
Really?
He said, do whatever you want. Because you're the only one who has ideas.
Come on. Listen, God will prepare you in that place.
Okay, and these were like insane ideas though. Like they weren't even, I don't even think half of them were like.
What was the craziest one?
Oh, yeah. So me and Pastor AJ had a podcast called Daily Grace that we just talked about nonsense.
Nonsense.
I'm legit saying we just got on the internet and was like, hey, what's up? Daily Grace, what's up? Like nothing. We would talk about nothing.
Are they still up?
No.
Why would you?
I'm so glad we scrubbed the internet. No, we needed to rob us from that. We were talking about something. It was like, oh yes, we were talking about Disney shows and Disney. This is how ridiculous this show was. Talking about Disney Channel or whatever. And he said, this is my favorite moment. He was like, yeah, like Pocahontas. And I was like, yeah, the colonizer that she married.
To Master AJ? A white man. A white man.
Okay. And I was like, midway through, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. That just came out. Like, that was a real thought in my brain that came out on screen. So, yeah.
Miata, you be having me crying.
It will never be seen. It will never see the light of day. But those are like the crazy ideas that we had.
Wow.
We did devotionals. We did, yeah, it was just cool.
That is cool. That's so, it's just, wow. First of all, you're a character.
Yeah.
But also, like I was saying, God will just use you in those practice grounds. And then, of course, he knew 2020 was coming. And he's like, Miata's going to be well prepared. And people will take favor to her. The idea that she...
Do whatever you want. Like, legit, I literally was like, what? Thank God I'm not crazy. Because you know what I mean? Like, that type of blank check is unheard of for a senior pastor at his level to be like, yeah, do whatever you want. He had to have trusted me. And thankfully, I have some type of sense in the Holy Ghost. So I wasn't doing like wildly wild stuff. Yeah. But
wow. And then, so I'm assuming you had your part to play in creating the YouTube.
Yeah.
Because we have like a lot of subscribers now. Like I watch it I watch on YouTube when I'm not in person. And then the social media page and everything, like that was all you. Glory be, girl.
Glory be to God. And it's really figuring it out as we go. Because it's not like that was my major. No.
Right.
I didn't go to school for that. I just am curious. I was going to say nosy, but curious is a nicer way to say. Yeah. You know, I just love art.
Yeah.
And whatever medium it is, I want to learn about it and do it to the best of my ability. So, yeah.
You're like amazing. That's so cool. I just think, of course, you went to school for something, but like God will just use those aspects of you that you just didn't think, you just interest and like catapulted to where you're at now.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Now I know you, I think you told me about this, but you used to have a blog.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And did you, I mean, I think you said,
did I tell you this story?
No, I don't think.
Okay,
you told me
continue.
that. Because we did Rooted this summer.
Oh, yeah.
And people were always talking about the messages or the emails that you sent out to the participants were always so good. Like, so good.
Praise.
And then I think you were like, oh, yeah, I used to have a blog. Like, I'm a writer. And I was like, what? And I think you were like, and I was like, oh, like, where can we find something? You were like, nowhere. And I was like, okay. But, like, that's all I knew about your blog. So let's talk about your...
Oh, gosh. My blog was so I worked in DC. I worked a corporate job. And it was just a way to, like, express myself creatively. Everybody was kind of doing a blog. And I wasn't doing it to, like, be famous, you know? But it really was just to put my thoughts to paper. So it would be, like, fashion or music or... I would watch shows. Like, me and my friends, you know, were really into Scandal. So it'd be like Friday morning at work, I'd be like, this is my recap thoughts on Scandal. Okay. But that's all it was just like a creative outlet to be creative and not feel like I was dying at this job.
This corporate, because it'll kill you. That's so cool. And so why did you stop?
Why did I stop? That's a great question. I don't know. I really don't know.
Would you ever pick it up again? Maybe not.
I tried to start one of those, what are they called? Substacks? I'm not doing that.
What?
It's like, my challenge to myself was actually writing those emails to Rooted.
Really?
I was like, I need to get back in. It's a muscle to write every day or every week or put your thoughts to something. And I don't have the muscle memory anymore. And so I was like, okay, my challenge was to write the emails every week for Rooted. And I was like, if I get that back in practice, then maybe I'll restart something. So
is the muscle memory there now? Because that was
no. But I started it.
That's that part. You started.
Yep, I did.
You never know what the Lord.
You never know what the Lord will do.
Yeah.
So
because they were really good. They were really good. And I was like, I needed to do better with like reading them myself. I'll be honest.
They were long. I'm sorry.
They were long. But it was also like really good. And then you always added. Well, I don't know if you did it for the participants. You did it for us as coaches. The playlist.
Oh yeah,
girl. That was one of my favorite parts. You really revamped my playlist.
Yes. I love music. So I was like, that's a fun part.
Yeah. That was a Goodbye Yesterday. Goodbye Yesterday. Yeah. I was like, elevation, period.
Turn up.
So I know that you are the creative director. How does that intersect with ministry at Grace?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Where do I want to start with this? I really do believe that every person is a creative, no matter what vocation you're in. And I mean that to say, like, the chair that we're sitting on took someone to dream it and build it. That takes creativity. Even the spreadsheets that we use, that takes creativity to think of systems and forms that are easy for other people to use to make whatever they need to make happen. And so I do believe that because God is a creator, I mean, that's how we all came to be, and his finest creation is us.
Yeah.
Inherently, as image bearers, we are creative. No matter how that expresses itself, there's a creativity that you employ in order to do what it is that you do. I think that's just naturally how he created us. And so I don't think that ministry is that far off from create. Like, you have to be creative to be in ministry.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, and I think, I think I'm learning right now how to employ that as a strength and a gift, and not because I think different. I think different than every other person on our staff, or at least pastoral team. Right? I'm a little left sometimes, or I'm a little right. Like I'm a little out of the box. The classic box, you think? But I think that that's a strength because it brings a different perspective. And it's a creative edge to how we pastor, or how we minister, even how we do that. I think in terms of ministry, it has, I was talking to Pastor Tellis about this, but it's this idea that in Ezekiel, when God tells Ezekiel to look at this valley of dead things, and then he says, speak to it, and then you see like the sinews and the bones come together, and then skin puts on it, and then God breathes his breath in it. I think creativity for me in the church setting and ministry is that it's putting flesh to real content, real words, like putting a visual to what God is doing is powerful, especially in our generation where people are way more visual than they are like auditory. And I think it's just how media has created us to be. But something powerful happens when you get to see something, because it evokes a different type of emotion than just hearing someone speak. And so it adds an element, a dimension to ministry that I think is powerful.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good. When you're speaking, what came to mind was The Chosen, because up until that point, like, you have like Passion of the Christ and stuff. I never watched it. I was like, this is too sad. I can't.
Don't.
I've
seen it once and I cannot ever see it again.
Reading the Gospels is enough. Like I can't. But the way that they've brought Jesus' story to life, and I mean, I know it's not all like biblical facts per se. The gist is there though. I know they've what's the word?
Dramatized?
Yes.
That
word. His life, but just being able to like see like, oh, Jesus was a normal person like us, right? Of course he was God as well, but it just brings it to life in a different way. Like, so I think that's really interesting that you said that. And also how everybody's creative regardless of how it's expressed or vocation that you're in. I feel like that's like itching something in my brain because I just never thought of it that way. When I think of creativity, I think of, well, in the beginning, just like singing. Yeah. Like I was like, that's about it. Or like painters, right? And of course, in this age of social media that we're in, like 10 years ago, social media influencers, content creators weren't a thing. Right. And who knows what it's going to be in another 10 years, because I truly believe that God's opening up our eyes to different aspects of creativity. Now, of course, he's the ultimate, so he already knew, right, that in 10 years it's going to be something different. But I just never broadened the scope to that. So I think that's really interesting that you say that. And I think that's going to, I mean, it's doing something for me. So how much more someone else? Because I don't look at like an accountant, honestly, and think creative.
They better be creative. They got to help me save this money and stay out of jail, okay? To pay these taxes. You better create, accountants, okay? Hello? But seriously.
That's so real. You see? I just don't think of it that way. And you just...
Please. Thank you, accountants. Thank you. But yeah.
Oh, I'm crying.
Oh, yeah, listen. Pay your taxes.
Yes, pay your taxes. Stop scamming.
Scam.
Stop scamming, okay? They finna get you. One thing about ours, honestly, like, they finna get you. The PPP loans, how people were scamming during 2020, and now they scooping people up.
Scooping.
Left and right.
Yank. Get out of there. You're going to jail, okay? Anyways, but yeah. Woo! Thank you, God.
I'm getting hot. Oh my days.
Thank you, Lord.
Truly, thank you, Lord. like not here, but it's okay. What challenges have you faced in merging these gifts of creativity with your role and calling as a pastor? Like, has there ever been a time where someone was like, no? Or
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that's just life. I mean, especially working with, because I'm not working for myself. Right. And so I'm not building my own platform and my own business. I really am working to support a vision and a mission of building the kingdom of God, and especially how it looks primarily at Grace Covenant Church in that unique fingerprint.
Yeah.
And so everything that we try to create doesn't always, people will be like, and that's all. And at first I used to take it personally because I was like, that's me, dog. That's me. You did not, and it's not you. You know what I mean? You guys separate. And I think that's the power of grounding yourself in your identity in Christ, right? Is that we aren't what we do.
Come on.
Even though there's a piece of you in what you do. That's beautiful. But it doesn't, who you are isn't what you do and what you produce. But yeah, they tell me no all the time. Or go back to the drawing board. And sometimes it's like, man, you nailed it. But I think I love that though. I love the challenge of trying to bring something to life that we all see and we can agree on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a challenge, but I think that's just part of like life and working for a ministry that isn't your own.
Yeah, that's real. So how do you overcome that then? Because I know it's like, all right, cool, back to the drawing board. But like, apart from the times where you've had to separate the work from you, like what does going back to the drawing board look like for you?
So it depends on the project, but most of the time it'll be like, okay, what about this did we not like, right? Yeah. Is it the colors? Is it the visuals? So that you can kind of hone in on what it is you need to tweak. So you're not like completely going and creating something brand new.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to do that. I've learned to go back and ask questions like, what about this? Did we not like anything about it? Or was it just the colors? Was it just the visual images? And then so we can tweak it and bring it back.
Yeah.
Now I've learned to ask way more questions on the front end.
Oh, okay.
Than wait on the back end. So like we're doing a sermon series, which this is not a secret. We're doing a sermon series starting on Sunday called Kingdom to Kingdom.
Okay.
And it's this idea of like, how do you live in the world but not of the world? And how did people in the Bible do that? And so the image is like two worlds, one upside down and one right side up. In a vast array of colors, and there's like a space between them. And so when we first did it, it was like our first iteration was like Dune. It was like just deserts. It was deserts vibes because that's what I was watching. You know what I mean? I was like, Dune. But that doesn't actually tell the story. And so the questions I asked on the front end was like, what is the scriptural like references so that I can go read it and ask God like what are you trying to say from this? And then like are there any colors or feelings that it evokes for you? Like do you feel like blues? Is it more vibrant? Is it more muted? And so Pastor AJ is more like he has to see it and then he can say I like it or not, but not like, visualize. So I think it came up with like 2 drafts and then showed it to him and was like, yeah, I'm feeling more like vibrant. Like it's alive. Both of these worlds are alive. Yeah. It's just which one you're going to be on. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I've grown to learn. Like ask more questions on the front end so you get closer to what you both agree on. And then number 2, what I like is only present to the client the 2 options that you like. Don't be out here presenting things that you hate, because then if they choose it, you're like, oh, I hate this. And now I have to create a whole suite of things in something that I hate. Yeah. So I don't. I just, I present the 2 that I feel okay with. Like, yes, we could show this to the world. I'm down for either one of these 3.
That's good. Have you ever? So obviously that sounds like it came from experience.
Yeah.
Right. What is one thing that you presented that you did not quote unquote like? Are you allowed to share that? Is that like a?
I don't know. Let me think. Let me think on it.
It's okay if not. You probably liked everything that you've.
No, well, so this never went live. So the worship conference that we did 2019.
A worship conference.
We did a worship conference.
What?
Whoa. Incredible.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Okay.
It was called On Earth as in Heaven. So the original idea, though, was to call it Power.
Okay.
And I was like, I hate that. Because what? What are we... you know what I mean? In my head, I was like, what is the scriptural backing? And they had some. And I just was like, that ain't it. That's not the word of the Lord for this season, you know? And so I was like, what about On Earth as in Heaven? Like Pastor Brett Bishop had just preached a whole like vision about what it would be like if we actually took that prayer seriously and became outpost of heaven and the earth. So and I was like, that's a vision that I feel like is broad enough for a worship conference, because isn't that what we aim to do as worship leaders? Is to create a space and a place that there's unhindered experience with God for people.
Come on,
and so that to me is on earth as in heaven. And we don't have to wait to heaven to experience it, because we can create those places, because, as believers. And so, so Power never saw the light of day. Thank you, Jesus. Okay. We thank God. That didn't see no light of day. So but it was cool. Like, it was like the little blinking light up signs that did the, that was cool.
For Power or for
Power. Yeah. So, but listen, it was cool, but I just was like, this ain't it. That's not it for our first worship conference. Yeah. Maybe number 2. Okay, cool. Yeah. But your first one that you're ever doing, it needs to be like more, you want to make us a statement.
Yeah.
And a theological statement, exactly. I think, to me.
No, but yeah. Has there ever been another worship conference?
No, we were going to do one this year.
It's October.
I know. We were. It got canceled. It was going to be September.
Who canceled it?
We didn't plan. So this is the thing. We did not plan to have this conference. And any conference of the size that we wanted to do, you needed to have started planning it a year before.
Dang, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Especially with Grace,
especially with Grace, space, time. If we're gonna get special guests to come in, like they're booking, especially like some of those names that they're booking a year in advance. So we should have started a year ago.
Dang.
And then Pastor Tiffany went on leave, so it was like, no, we're not doing this.
Just left
it there. It might come.
Darby and Darian.
It might come back. it might come back next year or the year following. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
You heard it here first, folks. Grace Covenant is having a worship conference.
Maybe. Maybe if we get it together. Yes. But yeah, it just takes a lot of planning. And that first conference was like, talk about something you've never done before that you literally are learning on the go. That's what that conference was for me. Really? Like, we built a website. We brought in all of these things. We did a merch line. Wow. We had Travis Green. Travis Green did a concert at the end of our conference. He spoke and then he did a concert. So doing contracts. I'd never done any of these things ever in life. And I'm like, God, how did I get here? And also, what is going on? Yeah. So yeah, it was a great learning experience. Like, I learned a ton, but it also was like, why are you doing this at the same time? You're learning as you do it. Well, I mean, I feel like that's a lot of jobs nowadays. So it makes sense that it also happens in the ministry context. Yeah. Because even for Rose and Bloom, it's like I'm learning something different all the time. Yeah. Especially because you're pioneering something new. Yeah. And so, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Has there ever been a time where you've heard, or maybe someone came and told you, the things that you're doing creatively, like the things that you've created, has impacted their lives, like spiritually? Or is it just like because I feel like you do a lot of things on the back end, and it's like, because I know, right? And so we'll look at, when we start a new sermon series, like all the, flyers and graphics, and it's like, oh, that was Miata. But I'm sure some people are like, all right, cool, this is the next sermon series. So facts. I feel like this is gonna sound bad, but I think everybody thinks they say something, and so nobody says anything. There's very few times that I'll hear through the grapevine. So like, I think, was it 2020? Maybe a year ago. Like, Grace Loves was doing something, and we had posted about like serving some soldiers or blah, blah, blah. And so we, and all of the stuff that we did with them. Yeah. And so we got a DM from someone's wife whose husband was there. Oh, wow. And she just was like, thank you so much. Like, it's scary to send your husband out and not know if he'll come back home. Yeah. But to know that there's a church that met him, like, it's just loving on him is so beautiful. So it wasn't like directly what we've created, but just being a part of that was like, wow, oh snap, this is like, it's real. Yeah. That's so good. So, well, with something like that, what role does collaboration play in the creative process with Grace and all the things that you do within that? Because obviously it's not like you could just pick up someone off the street and it's like, hey, come work with us. Come work with us. Yeah. Collaboration. Or is it just within the church space, like the staff and stuff like that? No, I do a lot of collaboration, I think, even outside of the church space, with people who will create graphics for us or do video work. Period outsourcing. Yeah, outsourcing. I think I just look for people who love God, are easy to work with, and I can communicate well with. And, so that really matters. If you can communicate well and they can pick up speaking your language creatively faster, then it makes your work easier together. Yeah. So some people that we outsource are in our kind of church network family. Yeah. And then there's like maybe 2 or 3 that are outside of our church network family that I met at creative conferences. Oh, yeah. Wow. Creative conference. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, there's one by Passion City Church called Lift. Really? Atlanta. And so I met ATL shouty. So I met 2 creators from that conference. Because on our little badges, it was really cool, which I was like, oh, I need to steal this for another conference or something. But on the back, it was like, you put in your information, your social media handles, your email, your whatever, and people can scan it and it gives you their contact. Really? Yes. And so like, you could just, and you could be like, hey, let me scan it and get their contact information right to your phone. Yeah, you got to do that. Yeah. So that was cool. So that's how I met them. Wow. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, we need to do that. I don't know. You need to put on another conference. Girl. It's like,
So kind of moving off of like the ministry stuff, I guess, and more onto you, right? What has God been teaching you in this season, spiritually and creatively? Maybe if there's a mix of the both, but.
This is such a good question. I feel like this season has definitely been one of stretching. Yeah, which is funny because I was like, Lord, I feel like I've already been stretched, but here I am, more stretching for me. So yeah, I think it's stretching, but it's like there are things that I really do feel like God has dreams and things that God has called me to birth or be. And this, this is church language, but like to be like a midwife for, to help bring into the earth. And so that requires a different level of consecration, concentration, and there's a demand on me spiritually and like emotionally and physically that I don't think was there before. You know how they say like the level at which I need to operate in to help to like do what God has called me to is not what I did last year. Like the amount of prayer that I need to be praying, the amount of time I need to be spending in my word and with God needs to come up to the level of which the demand on it is. And so like putting reminders in my phone, like 7 a.m. praying, 7 p.m. praying, you're like upping my prayer level, upping those different things is what is required of me of this season. And it feels very like, it feels like training season. Like you condition your body to do different things. Like if you're running a marathon, there's different things you have to do every single day in order to get your body ready to run a marathon. I feel like that's what's happening for me in this season. It's a spiritual training season.
Wow. Is it, I don't want to, so my question is it overwhelming? But I know that, actually, never mind. I learned in Lead Well that God doesn't give you too much more than you can handle is not scriptural.
No,
the way that we do it or say it.
Facts.
So,
yeah, it is overwhelming. But I think the thing that I have been learning in this season is, the whole Bible is full of impossible stories, right? And I really do believe that God would never give me a life where he is unnecessary. And so the level of which the things that he's put on my heart and the dreams require him. I could not do it at all in my own strength. Okay. And when I try to, I'd be struggling. Big time struggling. And it's like, oh yeah. Jesus like, sis, you need to pray. Like, sis, you need to read your Bible. Sis, you need a Sabbath. You know what I mean? Like, you really are out here. And especially for people who are like, you have a bigger capacity. And you have gifts that he gave you, but you can at some point start operating in it outside of him, and that's why Solomon took a tumble. Okay. He was gifted. Yeah. Without any remorse. God gave him the gift of wisdom. Yeah. But he started operating in it without God. And he didn't let God put the limits on him that he needed to be put on it. But yeah, so no, I cannot do anything. I bump my head all the time. So just to keep it real, like I really be like, oh yeah, I'm so tired, God. He's like, I wonder why. Me. Yeah. Me? Come back to me. Here I am. But yeah, it's impossible to do what he's called you to do without him. And he just doesn't give this life that he's called me to. And this purpose is, I can't do it without him. Yeah. So yeah, it is overwhelming, but it's like the benefit, and which I don't think that a lot of people talk about in Christendom. Like they always talk about it's hard. I can't. Yeah, but there's the joy of what God has called you to do, and there's a joy in it too, like, and knowing that you're in what he's called you to do. And I don't ever feel left out. I don't ever feel like I'm behind. I don't ever feel like, I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what about them? He's like, what about them? Worry about yourself.
Okay,
Worry about run your race. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel a sense of like, joy, even when it's overwhelming, coming back to him. But
that's so good. That's so good. That's good to me right now. Wow, Miata, gold. Okay, we have to start wrapping up now.
Okay,
but what with everything that you do, what legacy do you hope to leave?
Whoa. Yeah, that is a big question.
It is.
Ooh, I
have
have not
in parts. It's okay.
Yeah. What legacy do I hope to live?
Yeah.
Impact do I hope to leave?
Mm-hmm.
The first phrase that came to mind is like low key funny, but that my first thought was like, that song, I am here. No, but I think
is it by no, sorry, I'm thinking of I'm Still Here by is that what you're thinking?
That's crazy.
By what's her name?
I don't
know. She was on Martin.
That's
what I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm still here.
That's ridiculous. But okay, back to the real seriousness of this question. I think honestly, there's like this little story about the what's her name? John? I can't think of the name of the evangelist.
Okay.
He was like a brother. His brother like wrote a lot of hymns. I don't remember his name. Mm-hmm. And right after we're done, I'm going to remember his name. But the story goes that like their mom, they watched their mom pray and fast and pray over them. And like in the kitchen, she had like 9 kids. And it was just a hard like life. Mm-hmm. I think her husband went to jail. Like it just was wild. Mm-hmm. And they went on to do these like really amazing, powerful things for God. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those seeds were planted by their mom. And so I think for me, I'm in the space of, I'm not really trying to build a platform. I want to be a vessel. And so I don't really care if my name's not remembered. I just care that I planted seeds. And whoever goes on to do whatever they are, whether they're my natural kids or my spiritual kids, whatever it is, I just want to be faithful with planting seeds. That's it. That's good. The legacy,
That's so good.
and that's hard to come to stay in, because it's especially in this world, and especially the culture that we live in, and especially because at Grace, like I'm one of one, like I'm the one Black woman pastor. Yeah. And so I do also understand that my very presence sends a message to other Black women and other Black girls.
It sure does.
That God can call you to this too. There's nothing special. Yeah, I'm called. So I'm not going to negate that, but like he can call you too. Yeah. And so I'm going to stand in this space long enough for all them little girls to grow up and know that it's possible for them to be in this space too. But that's it.
Wow. I adore this woman. Bruh, wow. That was a great way to end this, girl. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, for the wisdom imparted and the gems. Girl, I'm going to be listening back to this with some ice cream and tears, probably.
Oh my gosh. When ice cream and tears.
Yeah, girl, I'd be emotional. But it's okay.
That's okay.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. If people want to get to know you more, because I'm like, she's not open on none of
all my stuff is locked down. It's private. Ooh, child.
Maybe come to Grace. Just come to church.
Yes, come to church. I would love to talk to you in real life. Darby keeps telling me, he's like, open your profile. I'm like,
you should.
But there's weirdos. There's great. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the dark side of the internet that I'm scared of.
But did you start? So
I did.
So
okay.
Started
but it only has one post because I can't. This is what I'm telling you. I need help. I need somebody to help me. Help me if you want to do that. So, but yeah. No, come talk to me in real life. I love to talk to you.
Yes. Come to church, everybody.
Come to church.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into Rose and Bloom this episode. Please remember to leave a review on Spotify, Apple, subscribe to our YouTube. Until next time, continue blooming into the roses God has called you to be.